Happy New Year, listeners.
Ooh. And all acquaintance be forgot. Da, 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 da.
I was doing fireworks on the camera. You can watch over on YouTube if you want to see the fireworks show I just did.
Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. We've really upped the production value for this episode. We hired a bagpipe player for Auld Lang Syne. It's great. This
is the first podcast of 2025.
Yeah, it's welcoming in a new year. We're going to be celebrating, the year of Star Wars we've just had, and looking forward to a year ahead. And we're going to be doing that with our breakdown of Skeleton Crew episode 6.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna like he said, we're gonna preview what we've got planned for everybody for the year 2025. We've got big plans for the podcast that I think a lot of you are going to be very interested in and excited for. Yeah. I know that Mac and I are super excited about what we've got planned, and I think it's going to be a really, really cool, fun experience for everybody. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of our breakdown. And then maybe even mention a couple of things, like you said, some of our favorite things from 2024 in Star Wars. But let's talk about this episode of Skeleton Crew, directed by the greatest of all time, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Just general thoughts. What did you think of this episode, Mac?
Yeah, I really, really liked this episode. It definitely felt like a little bit of a change of pace for what we have been experiencing in Skeleton Crew week to week. This was definitely kind of a smaller, quieter episode, but don't let any of those descriptors ring as like negative things, right?
No.
Because I think this episode really took some time to focus on something that we haven't been doing tons of in the previous episodes, which is focusing on character development and those interpersonal dynamics amongst the crew. We've been getting huge lore additions, big action set pieces like every week up until now. So I think this week we're taking a little bit of time to kind of fill in some of the gaps with what's been going on internally with each of our main characters and these characters that we've been following and are rooting for. So I think it was, definitely felt a little different, but I think was important and, a very valuable addition to the show as a whole.
Yeah, and I know leading into this episode, we were speculating, pretty much everybody was speculating, is there going to be a big cameo because it's a Bryce Dallas Howard episode? She's such a veteran of directing Star Wars, mainly The Mandalorian, but she's directed Ahsoka, The Book of Boba Fett as well, and most of the time her episodes are these big plot pivot changing type episodes. With one exception, with that being The Mandalorian Season 3, which acted a lot like this type of episode in terms of let's show you one last kind of like heartwarming character development episode before we get into the real meaty stuff. Because if you remember back to Mandalorian Season 3, it was that episode with Christopher Lloyd and the droids, the bubble cities and stuff. And it was kind of shocking in the moment when that episode happened, but like this is that kind of maybe not as shocking moment where it's like, okay, we're gonna slow down before we really ramp this thing up. And if you were let down by no cameo, let me tell you, I think you should go back and rewatch the episode right now, because shedding that expectation and watching what we got, I think this was some of the best fantastic character work we've ever gotten in Star Wars in terms of like just the dynamics of the crew. And I think that's so important whenever you're dealing with a crew, like a ensemble cast. And what I really liked about this episode, Mac, is like, obviously there's going to be spoilers with what I'm about to say here. But it's like the kids were shedding their outer layer too. Like the Onyx Cinder, like they were becoming who they're meant to be before whatever happens next week and with the finale the week after.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very good observation. Like that, again, jumping ahead to the end, so spoilers and everything, but hopefully you've already watched the episode if you've been listening this far to our podcast. So, like I think that visual of the Onyx Cinder becoming something new, like what was always lying there underneath being revealed, I do think that's a great way to sum up what's happening with a lot of, the characters in this episode. If you kind of going back to Bryce Dallas Howard, one thing we've always talked about, in addition to her episodes of other shows being, big, a lot of times huge plot points shifting and big character introductions and stuff like that. If you go back to like The Mandalorian season 1, it's episode 4 that she does,
Sanctuary.
That's the spiritual core of that first season of The Mandalorian. I think it's giving you all of the character insight into what Din's internal struggles, his worries are at the moment, what he's giving up to, take care of this Jedi child Grogu, and so I think Bryce Dallas Howard is who you bring in to make the emotional stakes really apparent, to do those big character moments, to show you who a character is, who they're becoming. So I think it was just fantastic work all around on her end, and it makes sense to bring her in for this episode.
When are they going to give her a Star Wars movie? Like, they announce all these directors, there's all these rumors about these people. I want her to direct a Star Wars movie because she gets it.
Right. Yeah. I've never watched an episode of hers and been like, this isn't Star Wars, like it's always been Star Wars. Even the episode with like Lizzo and Jack Black and everything, that was kind of like took me aback for other reasons.
It was a Clone Wars episode.
Right. It just was like, contextually it was a little jarring and stuff, but if you just like break down what the episode is, it's great,
Star Wars.
So I'm with you. Give BDH a movie.
Solo 2. For our friends at the Resistance broadcast, she would
I actually think she'd be an amazing choice for that, like what that would have to be between, like, for like following Kira and like what's going on with her in between Han and her. I think she would handle that really, really well.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's something I loved so much about the Solo film, was all the character work, kind of stuff like we got in this episode.
For sure.
But you are listening to Children of the Watch. I'm Mac Lacey.
And I'm Alex Maxwell, and today we are breaking down the 6th episode of Skeleton Crew. If you're new to our podcast, we break down every single episode of Star Wars television, scene by scene, to analyze the story, find comb for Easter eggs, and explain how it all connects to the larger Star Wars universe. And we want to hear from you guys, so make sure you call into our voicemail hotline, or what we're calling our Skelephone Hotline this season, 205-259-6675. That's 205-259-6675. Keep it under 3 minutes, and if you mess up, just hang up and try again. We'll use your best one on the podcast. We want to hear from you guys. Those voicemail episodes are always so much fun, and just hearing what you're thinking about the show, where you think it's going, what you think is going on. A lot of people were on to KB about something happening with her in our last voicemail episode, and they were spot on. And then we would also love to engage with you over on our social media at COT Watch on X, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram. We love just talking with you guys over there on those platforms. And then we've also got a Patreon for just $2 a month. You can get access to our bonus voicemail episodes and all the other bonus episodes that we've done in the past, plus our Discord over on patreon.com/The Mandalorian Watch. And we've got a merch store as well. Get some cool Keep the Watch merch on keepthewatch.com. I think we're ready to get into this breakdown.
Well done getting through all the business. Let's get into the breakdown.
Let's go. In our recap, we get the whole demolition button mentioned and KB's corrosion issue. And let me tell you, recaps are important, people, because it sets the context for the episode.
Yep, these are both things that we've, in previous weeks, we've been like, we got to keep an eye on this because this is for sure going to come up again.
Yeah.
I think Chekhov's whole demolition button has been mentioned. So
it's been pressed.
Yeah, yeah. Recaps are important. You're gonna get kind of some insight into what's coming.
Yep. I learned that, check off your bingo card. I learned that watching Lost, you never skip the recaps because I felt like I had to say that. Okay, so this episode begins with the kids racing down the escape tunnel Wim used to lead them away from Jod, and it eventually opens up to the snowy outside where all the trash of Venupa ends up. This was a cool little fun sequence. It kind of reminded me of Bespin when Luca's falling down the hatch a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be a really cool water slide if it was in a different context, right?
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. I love the Canto bite-ness of it all, where you see Lanupa, which is like this pristine...
Did I say Venupa? I said, oh my gosh, this is like the second time. You're right, it's Lanupa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a made-up place. You're good. But
no, I'm not.
The contrast between like what's on the surface thought of as Lanupa and like what the actual result of this place existing is, like they're just dumping all this trash out here, kind of creating this like, weird junk desert.
Yeah.
So I liked that, seeing the backside of this theme park attraction, essentially.
Yeah, it's like, where does all the trash go, and
Right.
what do they do with it? They just dump it and then literally incinerate it. But when they get out, KB is wounded. She's not moving at all, and Fern attempts to reset her optical link. And it's a really sweet, heartwarming moment because you really sense how Neil is really, really worried about her, and Wim is too.
Yeah.
But Neil's like, is she okay? Like, what's going on? But like, she's not moving at all. And it's her kind of first glimpse into her medical condition that was mentioned towards the beginning of the show. And now it's kind of happening now.
Yeah, we've been speculating on it for a long time, what it's going to be. We've even kind of drawn like similarities to the Wizard of Oz, where each of these kids can kind of have a character analog, and like she would be the Tin Man,
Yep.
where she's got obviously the metal, the technological like integrations and stuff like that, but it could be something wrong, kind of like with her heart or something like that. I think this thematically works for the same thing. But we've also speculated that it could be that it could possibly like kind of like put a damper on her like innate force abilities.
Yeah.
If that's something that At Attin could be invested in suppressing. I don't think that's the case.
She is like more Lobot than Lobot.
Yeah.
Which surprised me. We'll get into it when Wim starts really like help building her back, but like
for sure.
She's a little more droid than what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it's deceptive. Or deceiving. But yeah, Neil is very heartwarming. Love like his role as the soft, nurturing caretaker of the group, is kind of reinforced here. I love Neil. He's so sweet.
Yeah, he would be the cowardly lion, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we cut to black after that, and we get title credits, skeleton crew, and then I love the opening back up from that where Jod emerged draped in treasure from Renaud's trove with a maniacal laugh. He's just doing, he's just coming right out like that, and I loved it.
This is like I get this feeling coming out of McKay's with like
yes.
So McKay's in Chattanooga is a massive like used media warehouse. You can get like DVDs for like a nickel kind of deal. So like
I go there on my birthday every year.
It's incredible. If you're anywhere in like East Tennessee or even West Tennessee, they got one in Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville, Chattanooga,
North
Knoxville.
Carolina too.
This is this is a
they're
free McKay's advertisement. Like we are not sponsored. This is just an endorsement from the bottom of our heart. But yeah, this is the feeling I get when I'm coming out of McKay's with like 29 DVDs, 14 video games, like 9 pounds of comic books, and a few albums for like $19.
There's no better feeling than like you find an interesting book in McKay's and you're like, that's really interesting. And then you start digging and you find the complete set of books and you buy it all for like under $10. You're like, oh, I just stole this.
Yeah, it feels like cheating at life, basically. It's great.
It is awesome.
But yeah, Jod has the same exact expression that I'm wearing walking out of McKay's.
We should go to McKay's dressed like Jod with treasure all over us and just laugh the whole time we're in McKay's. That would be awesome. But yeah, as he climbs out of the treasure room, he kind of resembles Jack Sparrow adorned with loot from Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney parks, doesn't he? Like, it's that same feel. Honestly, he is so Jack Sparrow in this episode. Like, everything he does is what Jack Sparrow would do in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and I don't think that's an unintentional character inspiration. I think probably they intentionally have been like, this is kind of a Jack Sparrow type character, either in Jod's own internal character preparation or maybe even in the direction. But he's definitely got that same the same swagger, the same charm. It's fun.
But you also kind of get a sense too, like, I don't know, it seemed like Jude Law was having a little more fun in this episode. I don't know if that was the interplay between him and Bryce Dallas Howard of like, she's an actor, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just like, maybe they kind of brought it a little bit more with him just because of that.
One just kind of like, this is a real world behind the scenes reasoning, is that this is an episode where he's not primarily acting against a child cast.
Yeah.
So it, like, not saying, I think he genuinely enjoys working with the children. I think it's very evident that he was kind of particularly selected because of his skill with working with children and that kind of thing.
He's got a lot of them.
But like working with a cast primarily of child actors, it is a different working experience than a typical set, right? So like this episode, he's almost unbridled, right? Like he's not got the same restraints that, while he's been working through them very deftly, and it's like, and the kids are doing fantastic. I'm not saying this is anything about these particular child actors, just working with children in general. So I think maybe he just felt a little freer. Got to let loose a little bit more in this episode. Yeah.
You definitely feel that in this one. But as soon as he looks up, the hotel staff and residents are just there gawking at him. There's a Mon Calamari standing there, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
Jod said he's glad that they're there because he'd like to check out and refuel his ship. So he just kind of goes with it and he's like, listen, had a great time on Lanupa here. But I need to go now. But waiting for him on the surface is Brutus and his former pirate crew, specifically Gunter. And like we speculated last week, most of them made it out of the acid.
Yeah.
And Jod attempts to sway them with the temptation of Renaud's treasure, but Gunter is not having it. The pirates apprehend him, and Jod says he's in line for something even bigger. So he's kind of hinting already at and like, listen, no, you don't understand. And then he's using that as a distraction, and he orders 33 to attack. But as soon as SM-33 pops out, also wearing treasure, I might add, he's immediately shot and shuts down. And I thought that whole sequence was great.
I want the action figures of Jod and SM-33 dripped out. Like with all just completely iced up, with all these like necklaces and chains and stuff on them.
Absolutely.
That's the version of the action figure I want.
It's like so funny. It's just like they're.
Yeah.
Like, what's so funny though is SM-33 is also wearing the treasure. Like that he's already seen and been to all of his life. Like he's just also stealing it too.
It's like he has that like pirate, like lust for gold, just like coded into his programming. It's fun.
I love him so much. He's a great droid.
When he pops up and just immediately gets murked, it's pretty fun. It's good.
Yeah, and then really cool moment when Pocket comes up beside Jod and gives him a kiss on the cheek saying no hard feelings. I love that because it's like it kind of felt like Solo a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this is something Han Solo would find himself in, a situation where it's like he's not really mad that he got caught or who did it, because it's like I would have done the same thing. It's just, oh well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. But X-Wings swoop in, forcing the pirates to scatter while taking Jod and SM-33 with them. Below, the kids get up to see the X-Wings attacking the pirates, and Wim realizes they're actually the good guys. Now, here's my question, Mac. During this whole sequence, I was thinking, is the New Republic going to follow everyone to At Attin? Are they going to end up finding At Attin as well?
Yeah, it's certainly kind of going that way, right? Like, I think the X-Wings that we see here, they're pursuing Jod in particular.
Yes.
And we know Jod is probably going to At Attin. So I think that's maybe how this show gets opened up to the broader Star Wars universe, is that, the New Republic finds At Attin. It could come into play with their struggles against Thrawn. It could almost act like the Starforge, in that, like, this is how, maybe since they have done like a disarm, like the New Republic has kind of disarmed, this is how they could amass a resistance quickly in order to beat back Thrawn.
Yeah. It almost makes me wonder if the cameo that we're all kind of expecting still is Mon Mothma, in the sense, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because she's now, like, maybe she's in her office fretting about how they're, like, what they're gonna do about Thrawn's return, because she's just learned of it or something like that, and then it's like, oh, by the way, we may have some more resources than we thought.
Exactly.
That could be a good way to work that in there.
I think so. I think that would be really, really cool. But we're definitely going to see a lot more Mon Mothma really soon with Andor.
Yeah.
And her book coming out, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. For sure. And stay tuned for a little more about Andor at the end of the episode. But this episode is brought to you by Magic Mind, the world's first productivity shot designed to help you focus, stay motivated, and reduce stress, all while boosting your overall mental performance. I've been using Magic Mind for a little while now, and it did take about 5 days to really feel a difference, but it has been a really significant thing. It's not like a quick fix. It's not just a big dose of caffeine, but Magic Mind is all about long-term benefits, like better focus, mental clarity, and even less procrastination. So what makes it so effective? It's packed with ingredients like adaptogens to lower stress, nootropics to help with focus, and L-theanine to smooth out the effects of your morning coffee, so you don't get the jittery buzz or mid-afternoon crashes. And then plus, each bottle gives you over 100% of your daily vitamins C and D. Yeah, that's a huge deal. It's not a coffee replacement. It's an addition to your routine. I like to drink mine, in the morning, kind of alongside coffee. You can sip it. You can take it as a shot, or even mix it into, a latte. But I think a shot is what we recommend.
That's the way to go.
So if you're curious, I highly recommend taking the 14-day Magic Mind Challenge. You can try it daily for 2 weeks and compare how you feel after a week with Magic Mind versus a week without. I noticed that I was more productive, definitely helped with focus, and it does, kind of keep me from like doom scrolling and getting out of doing anything that I want to do in my daily routine. So are you ready to reclaim your focus? You can head over to magicmind.com and use the code CHILDREN20 and give Magic Mind a try. You'll feel the difference, I promise. So thanks again to Magic Mind for sponsoring this episode and for helping us stay sharp while we create podcasts for you. And back to the show.
So the kids try to wave the X-Wings down. They're just waving, but they leave them behind. And it turns out KB has saved the data in her visor. So like that's something we talked about, like maybe that she already has the coordinates. She saw them, so she's got it memorized. And Fern immediately orders everyone to start climbing up this massive ladder up back to the hotel. But KB's not having it. And like, also, like, they're kids, but also like she can't really move. So like, Fern, what are we doing here? Why are you pressuring her to do this? Like, or just like, stay here, I'll go get the ship and we'll come down to get you, which they kind of end up doing anyway, but like they turned it into a fight.
Right. I think that's coming. We're going to get into it, of course, when we talk about, like KB and Wim's conversation and stuff like that. But I think Fern is still feeling that insecurity of being in charge, whether or not that she was like self-appointed or not.
That's a good point.
But she just lost the captainship. She thinks that like, Jod might be about to fly off with their only way home and stuff like that. So I think she's probably feeling tons of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so like she's acting out of her own insecurity about like being able to lead everybody to to success, basically.
That's a really good point.
And so like I think that's important to keep in mind. It doesn't negate the fact that like she is not listening. Like no. That's just reasoning for like why she's being kind of a jerk.
Right.
And just not being like she's just trying to like lash out in impulse and do anything to kind of keep herself from feeling inadequate. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And that frames it better for Fern in terms of like, doesn't make her a bad guy. It just kind of makes sense of like, she just lost everything that she kind of always wanted.
Right.
And so, that makes sense why she's lashing out. KB wants to talk it out. Like, let's just at least talk it out. But Fern is getting confused at her anger, not understanding, like, because KB kind of strikes me as the sidekick of someone who always goes along with whatever Fern says. And I mean, they kind of talk about it later with Wim, but like, she just kind of always has done what Fern said, and Fern's the leader. But like KB's kind of questioning now, and that's making Fern like, why are you questioning? Let's just go.
Like, why can't everything work as it normally does?
Exactly.
And it's like, because you are in a situation you have never been in before.
Exactly.
And you're not taking in everybody's ability to adapt. Like you're not taking that under consideration.
Right. And then we get our introduction to the Trash Crabs, which would be a great band name, by the way. Trash Crabs.
That's it's a crust punk band. They like take freight trains to their shows.
Follow.
Yeah, I need to make like a little animation of a trash crab being like, follow, to put on YouTube to get people to subscribe or whatever.
Follow. They kind of remind me of the little guys on Peridia.
Yeah, the little
business suit
hobbit,
guys.
The little hobbit crabs. I love the trash crabs. I think they're adorable. I think if I had to be a Star Wars little guy, I might end up being a trash crab.
Well, we did get McThollops.
We did. By the way, everybody making stuff on the Discord over the holidays has been so good. Like, I'm so glad that everyone is using their free time to really create some master work artistry. McThollops was incredible.
He was wearing a tie.
I know. I need to do like a McThollops cosplay at some point.
Yeah. If Celebration ever comes back to America, which it will, we really need to try to go and do like a meetup and then like maybe have a McThollops costume contest or something.
It'd be good.
I think that would be good. Anyways, back to these trash crabs. They resemble hermit crabs, but each are using assorted metal parts as their shells, and one sporting a droid leg, another's wearing a mouse droid shell, and I just I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess they are some kind of droid in and of themselves, but like just finding little homes that they can carry around, like actual hermit crabs do. Yeah. I love when in real life, hermit crabs will move into like a little bottle cap or something as their shell.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. But the kids start arguing with each other, and Wim suggests following the trash crabs because why not? Of course, Wim wants to follow them. He's thinking, well, there's natives here, so let's go ask them.
Like the mystical animals coming to guide me through the wood couldn't possibly leave me astray.
Like, of course not.
Nothing, because that's not how it works in the stories.
Exactly.
And I do think that's. You know, like everybody's having a moment here in this episode, but a big one is Wim is going to have to kind of confront his, believing in stories and like his naivety a little bit. But then also decide what of that is actually a strength and like what to keep going, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that. He's the first one to be like, of course, trash crabs. It's magic coming.
Why would we
to
not follow
lead
them?
us to our happy ending? Yeah.
Yeah. But Fern insists that they climb the cliff. KB sides with Wim, hurting Fern's feelings, and Neil decides to go with Fern. So kind of that split and fight that needs to happen at this point to really strengthen the crew and bring them together and make them a true skeleton crew. Before, the final 2 episodes, which I really think are just going to essentially be a 2-parter finale.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree.
Meanwhile, Gunther's ship docks with Brutus's massive frigate from the first episode, which is so cool. I love this ship.
Yeah.
Brutus declares the mad Captain Silvo guilty and orders his execution, and everyone cheers, and they sentence him to death by airlock. And then Jod locks eyes with an older female pirate who looks a little uncomfortable with all of this. Mm-hmm. And he's doing that little Jude Law thing too, I think, of like, look how handsome I am.
Do you think there could at all be a Jedi mind trick happening?
No.
Okay.
I think this is just sheer charisma and good looks.
Just giving her the smolder.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It would work on me, too, if Jude Law...
Oh, for sure.
All right, everyone, wait a second. Should we kill Jude Law?
It's like, let's actually take a second thought about this.
Let's take a breather here.
Yeah.
He was in the holiday, after all.
AI.
So yeah, she interrupts, invoking the right of last appeal from the Pirates Code.
Parlay.
Exactly. This is so Pirates of the Caribbean. This is straight from that. During his reprieve, Silvo/Jod uses the opportunity to sway the pirates, urging them not to execute him. And he asks them, "How long have you been hungry?" Mm-hmm. And he's just given this speech. And it's I love a good speech. I'm a big speech guy. I'm a middle school teacher, and so we do this like canned food drive around Thanksgiving, and it's like a competition to see who can bring in the most canned food items or money for the canned food drive against like the other 7th grade teams and the rest of the school. And I have made it a very big competition with the other 7th grade team, and there are dreaded rivals. Anyway, it always culminates in like this epic speech that I give that I will say that I borrow a lot from the Independence Day speech. How I turn that into canned food drives, it's pretty incredible. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, I'm a big sucker for speeches.
Yeah.
And,
Real fast.
Yeah.
Top 3 movie speeches. Sidebar.
Independence Day speech number 1 for me. That is the best speech. I love that speech. Ooh. You give me one. I gotta keep thinking. That's the top of my. I guess Braveheart would come.
Braveheart. They may take our lives. They may take our land.
Theoden.
They'll never take our. Theoden's great.
Right now.
I was also gonna go with Aragorn's. Like these things may take the heart of me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But it is not this day.
That one's just overshadowed by Theoden because it already happened in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. This is more of a monologue but I think it carries the same weight as any of these speeches. But Roy Batty's soliloquy when he dies at the
Tears in
end
the
of
Rain.
Blade Runner. Yeah. I've seen things that you people would not believe. Attack ships on fire off the shores of Orion. I've seen sea beams glistening in the...
I've got two more.
All right.
Paul Atreides' Dune speech, Dune Part 2. That one's
good.
really good.
Pretty
That one's good. I was like, yeah, I will follow you and massacre some people. The next one is Darth Maul's speech in the Siege of Mandalore.
Oh,
That's
that's
a good
actually
one.
that's a great one. That's a great
good
one.
speech. That's a good speech. Anyways, Jod does a really good job here giving a speech. He's asking if they're hungry, there's never enough. But then he proposes, what if there were enough? Just imagine. And then he points out that Glurb, which is...
Glurb.
yeah, that's his name.
Glurb.
Quarian from Moncala wants that glow weave plantation. And what if he could buy himself a whole ocean? He stops at Kona, who is she the same actress in Thor Ragnarok?
I'm not sure.
She looked like her.
Very possibly.
I think that it is. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm almost positive it was
Like
her.
what part in Thor Ragnarok?
There's that part where she's kind of like this Jeff Goldblum's like enforcer.
Oh yeah. Very. I think it may be. I don't know.
I think so.
Very possibly. If we're wrong, leave us a really angry YouTube comment, because no matter what you say in those, it helps us in the algorithm all the same. Just leave a like instead of a dislike, please. Thank you.
Yeah. He stops at Kona saying that she should have an entire fleet to herself. And I'm pretty sure she's wearing like leftover stormtrooper armor too.
Like painted up.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Instead, he proposes that they head to At Attin to claim the treasure, a limitless source of wealth that would allow them to print their own credits and never run out of money. And he makes his case directly to several pirates, winning them over one by one. And to seal the deal, Jod reveals the newly minted Old Republic credits that originate from At Attin, solidifying his argument. And I just have to pause here. And it makes me think maybe we aren't going to see anything more special about At Attin, and it is just that.
Yeah, I think that does kind of, I'm still open to being surprised.
Yes.
As we get
Kinda
down
hoping.
to the planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this does seem like, and I've been wondering like economically how this makes sense and stuff. I think it really is like they're just going to print their own old money. And I guess because it's an old currency, it's not like anybody can track it really, or like it's not going to lose its value the same way. I don't know.
It still makes me lean towards the Wizard of Oz theory, though, of like maybe Tech Renaud already did that. And there's evidence in the song Mac and I are about to perform that Tech Renaud maybe did actually come back and survive his Attin trip. It depends on how you read that line of the song. But again, this scene mirrors Captain Jack Sparrow's clever attempts to talk to Barbossa out of killing him. And then they even have a pirate song to sing. Are you ready? Okay.
I do not remember the tune to this, by
I don't
the way.
either, but
So
we're just
gonna
we're gonna go
all
with
right.
it. Tech Renaud, soared away,
aboard the Onyx Cinder.
You're going real slow on this. And he was never seen again.
And never was he seen again.
And then he stops and he says, what was the next line? Of course he knows the next line. And then someone's like, For at Attin he did plunder.
Maybe that's something close to how it went. Probably not at all.
It sounded a little more like the Misty Mountains song from The Hobbit to me when I started singing it.
I was like trying to sing, because it's basically like yo ho, all hands, hoist the banner high.
Yeah.
But I couldn't couldn't. You put me on the spot. I wish you'd let me prepare it.
I'm so
everybody, please
Voicemail
send in.
episode.
So for this voicemail episode, we're gonna have a song contest. If you would like to, please on TikTok make a video of you performing the song from this episode.
Yes.
And we will
In pirate garb.
collect all the submissions and we'll judge both on like creativity and musicianship. We'll maybe have two categories, but send in your videos of you singing this. I know we've got a lot of talented musicians, so
we got a lot of talented artists. That's for sure.
I think that'd be fun though, and we'll figure out some. I don't know. We'll for sure credit you and give you a shout out on the podcast.
I'll just go ahead and put it out there. If you want to draw Mac and me singing this song as pirates, it worked last time, so maybe it'll work this time. Okay, so I do have to ask that last line for At Attin. He did plunder. So if he plundered it, maybe he did survive, or it's just like one of those legends of like he made it to At Attin, and I'm sure that he did it, but we don't really know.
I always thought it was like, oh yeah, he got so rich that just like nobody ever heard from him ever again. Because like everybody talks about what they'd do if they were rich and stuff, and I'm like, if I reach a certain point, I'm just no one's ever gonna hear from me again. I'm gonna go like fix world hunger and stuff first, and then with everything left over, I'm gonna go buy an island and live on it, and no one's gonna be able to find me.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm also going to buy an island, but I'm going to recreate it to the island of Lost. I'm going to build a hatch inside where there's a button that you have to press every 108 minutes. There's a code 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Execute.
Here's
and I'm
what
gonna
you
put
actually...
you in there. I'm going to make you do it.
I was going to say, if this is your fantasy, you use all this money to hire someone to create a Lost-like puzzle island for you.
Yes.
But it's new stuff, so you just get to have your own Lost experience. You have to figure it out and everything.
Yeah, I will select 42 of our listeners to come with me and we'll crash our plane onto the island.
It has to be authentic though. You really got to crash.
Authentic experience. But you will already have been there for 3 years, Mac, because that's what Desmond does. And you'll be in the hatch pressing the button, and it won't be until season 2 that we find you.
Okay, gotcha. Anyway, let's get back to Skeleton Crew.
Okay. Brutus reluctantly agrees to set course for Attin, but warns Jod that if the treasure isn't there, his life will be forfeit. And he kind of presses his face against the airlock and kind of shows him. That's what they do on Battlestar Galactica. That's how they kill people is via airlock. So,
like on my private island that I buy, I'm going to have an airlock to throw at people out of. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I guess it'll have to be underwater, but... Yeah. We'll make it work.
I feel like you're going to be like a James Bond villain.
Oh, absolutely.
Sharks with lasers on their heads.
Me and I'll have my cat Dusty just on my lap all the time while I sit in my revolving chair. And I'm just going to face away from the door so that when anyone walks in, I have to swivel around in place.
Meanwhile, KB and Wim approach the trash dump, but KB is growing weaker due to her corroded augmentations. He notices an old droid and remembers SM-33, hoping he's okay. He's kind of formed this attachment with 33 like we all have. But KB is shutting down, and she can't move. Her augs are corroded. Wim realizes he must find spare droid parts to repair her. Meanwhile, Neil is having second thoughts while he's climbing. This is so me, by the way. I'm terrified of heights. If I were like climbing, I would also be stopping and being like, this was a terrible mistake. I'm stuck. Fern realizes that she will have to help him get up the stairs with the ropes. Back with the others, Wim listens to KB's instructions on how to fix her while they discuss Fern. KB mentions that she had an accident, and that's kind of what forced her augmentations, and then opens a panel in the back of her head, making me wonder how much of a droid she actually is, because this goes deep into her head.
It almost seems like and if like she's not able to move entirely, it could just be connected to her nervous system, and she's like electronically paralyzed essentially. But the way she was talking about stuff, it almost seems like her limbs are parts that are moving and stuff too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It makes me wonder if like she just has like a brain stored in there, and the rest of her is actually like droid,
Right.
but we don't even realize it.
Like I don't know how bad this accident was. Like, who knows?
But it's interesting though. Like I think that suggests something about At Attin. We've not really seen that level of technology
No.
in Star Wars. I mean, we've seen augmentations, obviously, Lobot,
Right.
and then Luke's hand and stuff. But like
Like
Darth Vader,
Lobot is just a human body with the thing attached to his head, basically.
Yeah.
It's not like his body is any different. KB seems like she may be mostly machine.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder what happened to her because they kept it really vague.
And that may just be because it's not that important to her character. Like it happened, and that's the important thing. Or we could get a glimpse of it, down the line. It could have something to do with what's going on At Attin. Who knows?
It definitely could. So yeah, she mentioned she needs maintenance days. Me too. Wim tells her just to tell Fern that all that she's struggling with, and KB is afraid that she will have 0 friends again. And then Wim says that she can be friends with him and Neil. And finally, Wim manages to repair KB, piecing her augmentations back together. And she shuts down for a little bit like a droid, but then she comes back on. And as she powers back up, she looks at him and says with a smirk, "Thanks, Jedi." And Wim kind of like takes that in of like, oh yeah, I did save her like a Jedi would. I thought that was a really nice moment there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the whole conversation about her explaining her struggles with the dynamic between her and Fern is a really important thing. It's I don't know, anybody with disabilities, this is something they deal with. It's like that like, and if you've got someone in your life or you yourself are disabled, like it's I'm sure you can relate, listeners, but like it's it's a balance of like you want to, like, these people have so much to offer and so much ability and stuff like that, so you want to support and help them do that kind of thing. And then it's also like you have to be considerate also, though, and like listen and understand that they're not going to be able to do everything the same, or
Exactly.
So it's like finding the ways that, I don't know, it's like a difficult balance. It's a really hard thing. But it's something that I think our society in general could do a lot better at. Like our world could be a whole lot more focused on considering everyone's like abilities and the what they can do, what they can't do, what they do differently, what they need accommodations with, and like, because that way everyone can get what they need, and at the same time also everyone's special, like the things they have to offer to the world can be fostered. Anyway, a little bit of a soapbox, but like, I think this conversation important. Is very important, and I don't know, something that like the world at large could have a little more space in its heart for, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love that emphasis in this episode, and just like that inclusion in Star Wars, I think is really, really cool. Back on the ladder, Neil has a rope tied around him. Above them, 3 trash scows are carrying the onyx cinder. They're going to dispose of it. I love that Lanupa's just like, we're just going to destroy this, and that's just crazy to me. Back below, Wim and KB encountered the massive monster trash crab, only to realize that they're being eyed as its next meal. And Mac, this reminded me of Moana and Tamatoa. Shiny.
Okay, I have not seen Moana. Confession.
Well, it's one of the best scenes. Maui and Moana meet Tamatoa, a giant trash crab, and they try to eat them. But this crab is not CGI. This is a puppet / mold that they made, and like this is totally what Christopher Nolan's going to do for the Odyssey, isn't he? He's not going to do CGI. He's going to do something like this.
Yep.
It looked good.
It looked great. I think it looked better than a lot of I think it was a better solution than using CGI for this specifically.
It's really
and
cool.
They were doing some augmentations and enhancements, I think,
Sure.
with CGI, especially in like all the particle effects and all that kind of stuff. But it was good.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Meanwhile, their ship, the Onyx Cinder, is being hauled away toward the trash pile. Fern and Neil seize the opportunity and leap aboard to save it. And then down below, Wim asks himself, how come I'm always wrong about who is the good guy as he struggles up the hill? I love that. And it's also like, I don't know, there's something in me like, I wonder if that's going to come into play on At Attin later at some point. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like also indicating what his biggest character struggle is right now, which is like struggling with the way he had always envisioned the world to be and how the world actually is, you know? Sure. And that the disparity between those two things for him is what clouds him from being able to see anybody's true nature.
Yeah. Fern and Neil manage to rescue Wim and KB just in time, pulling them away from the monster trash crab. The group tumbles to the ground as the Onyx Cinder crashes, but miraculously they are not hurt. Wim is so proud of Neil, and then KB and Fern have a little moment. It turns into a group hug, and they all apologize to one another, and Fern and KB apologize specifically to one another. But then they hear something in the distance. They scrabble up a snowy dune and see their ship lying in front of a moving trash compactor / incinerator. And they scramble to save their ship before it's crushed by an approaching trash compactor. And this is where they all kind of fill in their roles and they're shedding their skin, right? Fern is truly being the captain, directing everyone. KB remembers how to turn on the ship. KB's going to jumpstart the engine. Neil's going to fly it with Fern. And Wim decides to try and shoot the compactor off. And I love it when he starts shooting. He's like, it's invincible.
Yeah. Felt like when you're trying to fight an enemy in a video game that has a little red skull by its name because you're way too low level and your attacks are just not doing anything.
Nothing.
It's invincible.
Yeah. Below, KB gets the engine started, and like I said, Wim begins firing on as the cinder starts to be consumed by it, but the blasts aren't doing anything. Neil throttles all the way as Fern pulls back. In a desperate move, Fern presses the emergency hull demolition button that SM-33 had warned them never to touch, and to their astonishment, the ship sheds its outer worn-out hull, and they escape with what now appears to be a brand new vessel, and they slide backwards, kind of like a snake shedding its skin.
Yeah.
And this ship is nice.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like the original design for the Onyx Cinder, like with the hull, seems more like a sequel era ship, and this definitely seems more like a prequel or earlier era design.
Kind of reminds me of a Sith ship, to be honest with you.
It looks a little bit like Darth Maul's.
Yep.
I can't remember what it's called, but like his ship.
Is that what it's called?
The what?
I don't know. Eviscerator? Yeah. Is that
something like that?
Something evil.
Something terrible sounding.
He's got the coolest speeder, by the way.
Oh,
Darth Maul. That rounded speeder. There was a Taco Bell toy of that when Phantom Menace came out. You remember that?
Yes. So I got that toy on the way to see the Phantom Menace for the first time.
Yeah.
And like you could pull it back and it would go forward on this little gear thing.
So cool.
Yeah, I definitely remember that toy. We ate at Taco Bell on the way to see the Phantom Menace. That was the first movie I'd ever been to. It was great.
Oh man, good memories.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it definitely looks like that ship a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. That was what it brought to mind for me. I was really expecting the whole demolition button to do a little more.
Like destroy the ship.
I was thinking like, complete self-destruct sequence kind of deal.
So do you think that maybe Tech Renaud put that outer hull of like, in case he needed to escape or like look like a different ship for whatever reason, that's kind of the reason for it?
Yeah, I think so. It'd be a very piratey thing to do. The outside actually looks like, so the first, like the false hull, it has kind of the same markings and stuff on it that a lot of the fleet that Brutus is in charge of
Yes,
has.
black and white. Mm-hmm.
So I almost wonder if it was like he was doing that to blend in with like more modern pirates, even if it's an older ship. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But something to keep an eye on. But I think probably what it'll come down to is that the ship looks cool now.
It does look cool now.
That's kind of it. I don't know that it's gonna.
I think it looks way better.
I do too.
I wasn't loving the Onyx Cinder design. I thought it was kind of generic looking to me, but now it kind of like, oh yeah, this is a cool ship.
Yeah, like I see what the point is. It's like the first one is trying to blend in and look like any other ship because that's what it looked like. Yeah. And now it has a very singular look.
Yeah. So they nose upwards toward the sky as KB puts out a fire in the engine, and they head towards the sky as we cut to black. End of episode. So it's a smaller episode, but I think it's essential.
Yes.
And it's like, again, like if you're going to be binging this show later, this one won't feel like out of place or anything. Like it's going to be actually perfect before what I think is essentially going to be a 2-part finale starting next week. And if Jude Law is to be trusted, I think it's going to be very revealing of what Jod's backstory is.
Yeah, for sure. It was great seeing him like position himself in charge of all of these folks and everything. I can't wait to see how that kind of goes. Yeah, can't wait to see what happened. Like where the kids are headed now. I guess they have the coordinates to At Attin, so I would assume that's just where they're headed.
Maybe they stop by Kim first.
Maybe.
I feel like she's going to come back up at some point, right? KB and her had that little moment.
Like if you ever get in trouble, come back and see me, kind of deal. So we could definitely be making a return trip. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what they would need from Kim at this point, though.
Here's what I'm envisioning. Okay, pirates arrive on At Attin and put it under siege. And then they're gonna need some help, maybe with like
running the blockade, essentially.
Yeah, and so maybe that's where the New Republic comes in, or maybe other pirates, Hondo. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But that's kind of what I'm envisioning. I think the pirates get there first, put it under siege, and then they're going to have to figure out how to get past the blockade.
I would love if we see some more pirates, like maybe some more notable pirates from throughout the galaxy,
show up,
being recruited to help with like, hey, we found At Attin, you want to come help? Exactly. Like, you want to, like, because I think Hondo would for sure be there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But,
so was Mando.
After this, we'll have 2 more weeks of Skeleton Crew until that's it.
That's it.
And so, we're going to keep doing this, of course. We're going to be breaking down those 2 episodes. We'll be doing voicemail hotline episodes after them, just like we'll have this week. So get your calls in if you've got more things to say, anything we missed. Give us your reactions about, I don't know. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think pirate-wise could possibly be showing up? Give us a call at 205-259-6675. We want to hear from you. We're going to be doing all of that like we have been for the rest of Skeleton Crew. But after that, it's not like the podcast just ends. We have massive plans for 2025. There's so much more amazing Star Wars on the way for us. So, Alex, let's break down a little bit about what the listeners and everybody can expect for 2025 from Children of the Watch.
All right. So immediately after Skeleton Crew ends, we're going to start our Andor Season 1 rewatch. And the reason we want to immediately start that is because there's 12 episodes, and we're going to be doing every single episode with brand new scene-by-scene breakdowns. If you were with us for season 1 Andor back 2 years ago, we didn't really get to cover it scene by scene every single episode because we were both in transitional phases of our life, and it made it really, really difficult to cover a show like that scene by scene. So we're going to get to do that on our Andor Season 1 rewatch starting the week after Skeleton Crew ends, and I cannot wait to start with that very first episode of Andor, leading us all the way into Andor Season 2. So kind of by the time we're wrapping up our Season 1 rewatch, we've got a couple weeks before Season 2 starts, and so it kind of gives us a chance to do our, I guess, Rebellion 101 episodes or whatever, you know what I mean? And then start that with Andor Season 2 on April 22nd, and that's going to be incredible. I'm kind of assuming it's going to be another 3-episode premiere on April 22nd.
Yeah, and they might do 9 episodes instead of the typical
12.
8. Oh, right. It's 12
12
again. So,
It's
yeah, I
12
think
again.
for sure we can probably expect a 3-episode premiere.
Yeah.
And especially if they're following the same structure of it being kind of each 3 episodes is a specific arc, each comprising a quarter of a season. I think it'd be a smart move to give us that first arc, right off the bat. But yeah, I'm excited to get to rewatch season 1. I know Andor is, it's my favorite of the Star Wars TV shows. And I know it's really high up there for you as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get to just dive in, talk about all the massive themes, get reacquainted with the characters and everything so we can pick back up with Andor season 2 next year and break it down fresh as it comes out, just like we've done for Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. And it kind of coincides with Star Wars Celebration when it premieres. So
Yeah.
we should be getting a lot of news out of Celebration as well during that time period. So that whole thing's going to be a lot of fun. And so that should take us to about the middle of summer by the time Andor Season 2 ends. But then what happens? When Andor Season 2 is over, there's no more Star Wars shows on the schedule, though I'm sure we're probably going to get an animated show sometime this year, 2025, that they'll probably announce at Celebration. It'll probably come out in the fall. But
Hope it's Pirates, as we've kind of
too.
been speculating, because
Yeah.
then we can kind of keep it rolling from Skeleton Crew.
Yeah,
but.
exactly. But yeah, what are we going to do as a podcast? Because there is no more Star Wars television shows on the slate. They've not filmed anything yet. They'll be filming Ahsoka season 2, but it won't be out yet. So what are our plans? Well, prepare yourself. Our Mandalorian rewatch begins, and this is going to be the most epic lead up to the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah. So, The Mandalorian and Grogu is the feature film coming out in 2026.
Yes,
Correct?
May 2026.
May 2026. Just wanted to make sure I had that right. But it's going to kind of wrap up a lot of the Mandalorian story, in addition to the following big crossover film that Dave Filoni is working on. So the Mandalorian as a TV show is really important to us as a show and to me and Alex as individuals. We love it. It has a very important place in our hearts. So I cannot wait to recount all 3 seasons of the epic TV show, every adventure, every character. And we're gonna, just relive all of that magic, getting pumped for the conclusion of the Mandalorian and Grogu story with the feature film.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, so that means it's brand new breakdown. We're not replaying our old ones.
No.
We're going to be doing brand new ones based on the context that we already have now. And I think that will make it a very interesting kind of new experience with our breakdowns, because it's like, okay, now we know stuff about what happens later. How does that impact some of the very early things that we see? And Mac, we're even going to do Mandalorian rewatch of some of those Clone War episodes and Rebels episodes. Because, we've got from middle of the summer until May of 2026.
Yep.
We're going to start from the very beginning and start all over and kind of go back to our origins of who we are as a podcast and kind of relive all that with you guys. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun as we head towards The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is going to be a big moment for Star Wars, and then obviously a big moment for us too, as we get closer to it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm so excited to be able to talk about everything we know that happens in the Ahsoka show, like when Ahsoka shows up in The Mandalorian, you know?
Yeah.
And be able to talk about like everything we're seeing and how it affects everything else. And yeah, it'll just be so much more fun to do with all of the greater context. We'll be able to give a lot of like more concise, consolidated opinions on stuff that we didn't get to do.
I think also, this is just hitting me, but we should probably include those 3 Morgan Elsbeth episodes from Tales of the Empire in our breakdowns.
That actually would be a very beneficial thing to do, because I think a lot of people probably have not gotten that, and I do think that's going to be important for the coming stories.
I do too.
But yeah, so there's like we're saying, there's tons to look forward to, both in Star Wars and for Children of the Watch, our show, in 2025. Thank you all so much for all of your support in 2024 and the years before. Special shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. You guys have really come through for us and just been able to support us and keep the lights on and enable us to do what we do, because we could not do everything on the scale that we do without your help. So
yeah, absolutely.
Truly, you guys are the heroes of the podcast. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, before we close out here, just real quick, I wanted to kind of share some maybe favorite Star Wars moments of 2024, just kind of looking back at this past year before we head into the new year. So what comes to my mind, some top favorite moments from this year are the Bad Batch finale.
Yep.
Absolutely enjoyed and loved that whole thing with Hunter and Crosshair on the platform saving Omega from Hemlock. That was such a great scene. It's raining. Love that scene.
It's tough. Like it was emotionally kind of a heavy watch. I still tear up sometimes just thinking about that.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I love and just the epilogue it gave for Omega.
Oh, so good.
Was perfect, because it both perfectly kind of put a bow on everything emotionally that was happening in the show, but then it also set up so many possibilities for that character in the future. I think we'll get a lot of big properties in the future that will feature Omega prevalently.
I hope so. There's a Bad Batch novel coming out.
Yeah.
And I really hope that maybe it follows her as she's older. That would be really, really cool. Yeah. So that was a top moment. I think a top moment for probably both of us
it's the Acolyte premiere.
Yeah, like being invited to the Acolyte red carpet premiere by Lucasfilm, who we thank dearly for that.
Yeah, it was so cool, like, to go and hang out beforehand with a bunch of people that, you know, we've maybe interacted with on social media or heard their voices through podcasts and stuff, but had never gotten to meet in real life. So it was really fun to just kind of catch up with those folks and get to know them. And then, of course, being in that room for a brand new Star Wars adventure with everybody's lightsabers all lit up, and, you know,
lightsaber
churros, everybody in their nice outfits, and in Hollywood, California. It was just such a good time. And, you know, getting to see a lot of the stars from a few feet away and be like, hey, Alex, they're over there. Look at that over there.
There's Ezra Bridger right there.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So it was just really cool. Everybody we met was really cool. Thank you guys again. Like, thank you, Lucasfilm, for inviting us to that. It was a really special night for us. And then patrons, thank you guys again for your support, and listeners, thank you all just for listening to the podcast, because if you all weren't engaging and everything, we never would have gotten to do that. So
nope. So that was definitely a highlight, probably the highlight of the year for Star Wars for us. I know,
of course.
Another highlight would be episode 5 of Acolyte. When the stranger just murked everybody. That
just
was
like
so good.
Oh, all of the fight. We got some amazing lightsaber combat in Star Wars this year. All the fights from the Acolyte were amazing. And then I'll just say, like, that the Skeleton Crew premiere. I know the show's still fresh, but it was so awesome just to get to rally with everybody and come together, even after, you know, kind of a few turbulent months in the Star Wars community and in the fandom and everything. We got to just come together and experience a new Star Wars adventure that has really just, like, I think, been really heartwarming for everyone. It's hit at the perfect time. You know, it's the cozy holiday season and everything. I think it's been a blast. So,
yep, I would agree. And so, yeah, we want you guys to call in. If you don't have any thoughts or theories about this particular episode, maybe that's what you could focus your voicemails on, or some of your favorite moments from 2024 in Star Wars, or what are you looking forward to the most going forward in 2025. You can share either one of those things as well on our upcoming voicemail episode. So make sure you're subscribed on whatever podcast platform you listen to, and also check us out on YouTube. Just clicking over on YouTube, giving us a like, and turning on notifications over there for our premieres of the videos goes such a long way in helping us out. And then, of course, we've got our contest going on, where our good listener Kyle, who's part of our Patreon community, is doing a contest, and you can give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcast, and in your 5-star review put the words I screenshot it and email mandalorianwatch@gmail.com. And if you've already given us a 5-star review, all you have to do is edit it and then send that screenshot over, and you will be entered in to win a Grogu Mandalorian Pram Lego set that is coming out very, very soon.
Yeah, for sure. So don't forget about all of that. We'll be back very soon for a voicemail episode covering episode 6 of the Skeleton Crew. And then all of that stuff for 2025 will be following after that. Thank you guys again for being with us all year. We hope you all have a very happy new year. Hope 2025 brings great things for you all. And, you know, just keep love in your hearts going into the new year. Look around you, see who you can help out, do something nice for somebody. Let's bring that spirit into 2025. So
give a virtual hug.
Yeah. But yeah, happy new year, everybody, and until next time, keep the watch.